warm welcome to this special broadcast on Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 3-day visit to the US from 21st to 23rd of September was packed with multiple engagements and high-level meetings. From attending the annual Quad Summit and holding a bilateral meeting with US President Joe Biden to participating in discussions at the United Nations, meeting with several other world leaders and CEOs of leading companies, and addressing the strong, dynamic and distinguished Indian diaspora in the United States of America, the Prime Minister's visit was quite fruitful and productive. In this report, we'll be looking at the key engagements of the Prime Minister while he was in the US. We'll also tell you about the important agreements and exchanges that took place between the Prime Minister and world leaders that he met during his 3-day trip. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived to an enthusiastic welcome in Philadelphia as he kicked off his 3-day visit to the United States on 21st September. A large number of people from the Indian community gathered at the Philadelphia International Airport to give a warm welcome to Prime Minister Modi. His first official engagement was with the US President Joe Biden on the sidelines of the Quad Summit in Delaware. In a special gesture, President Biden hosted the meeting at his home in Wilmington. During the meeting, Prime Minister Modi conveyed his appreciation for the unparalleled contributions made by President Biden in giving impetus to the India-US partnership. The two leaders discussed ways to further enhance bilateral cooperation in areas of mutual interest and exchanged views on global and regional issues, including the Indo-Pacific region and beyond. Two key documents, a joint fact sheet on the US and India continuing to expand comprehensive and global strategic partnership, and a roadmap for US-India initiative to build safe and secure global clean energy supply chains, were adopted during the meeting. In the joint fact sheet, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi affirmed that the US-India Comprehensive Global and Strategic Partnership is decisively delivering on an ambitious agenda that serves the global good. They commended the progress that has made the US-India Major Defense Partnership a pillar of global security and peace, highlighting the benefits of increased operational coordination, information sharing, and defense industrial innovation. Charting a technology partnership for the future, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi hailed a watershed arrangement to establish a new semiconductor fabrication plant focused on advanced sensing, communication, and power electronics for national security, next-generation telecommunications, and green energy applications. The fab will be enabled by support from the India Semiconductor Mission, as well as a strategic technology partnership between Bharat Semi, Third Eye-Tech, and the US Space Force. The leaders praised the combined efforts to facilitate resilient, secure, and sustainable semiconductor supply chains, including through global foundries, creation of the GF Kolkata Power Center that will enhance mutually beneficial linkages in research and development in chip manufacturing. Further, they welcomed progress towards the first joint effort by NASA and ISRO to conduct scientific research on board the International Space Station in 2025. On enhancing collaboration between our research and development ecosystems, the two leaders plan to mobilize up to $90+ million in US and Indian government funding over the next 5 years for the US-India Global Challenges Institute to support high-impact R&D partnerships between US and Indian universities and research institutions. They also highlighted additional cooperation in artificial intelligence, quantum, and other critical technology areas. Towards powering a next-generation defense partnership, US President Biden welcomed the progress towards India concluding procurement of 31 General Atomics MQ-9B remotely piloted aircraft and their associated equipment, which will enhance the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities of India's armed forces across all domains. Both leaders commended progress under the US-India Defense Industrial Cooperation Roadmap, including ongoing collaboration to advance priority co-production arrangements for jet engines, munitions, and ground mobility systems. They also welcomed efforts to expand defense industrial partnerships, including the teaming of Liquid Robotics and Sagar Defense Engineering for the co-development and co-production of unmanned surface vehicle systems that strengthen undersea and maritime domain awareness. They also hailed the teaming agreement on the C-130J Super Hercules aircraft recently signed between Lockheed Martin and Tata Advanced Systems Limited, the two companies that co-chair the US-India CEO Forum. Building on long-standing industry cooperation, this agreement will establish a new maintenance, repair and overhaul facility in India to support the readiness of the Indian fleet and global partners who operate the C-130 Super Hercules aircraft. This marks a significant step in US-India defense and aerospace cooperation and reflects the two sides' deepening strategic and technology partnership ties. President Biden and Prime Minister Modi welcomed the US-India roadmap to build safe and secure global clean energy supply chains, which launched a new initiative to accelerate the expansion of safe and secure clean energy supply chains through US and Indian manufacturing of clean energy technologies and components. In its initial phase, the US and India would work together to unlock $1 billion of multilateral financing to support projects across the clean energy value chain for renewable energy, energy storage, power grid and transmission technologies, high-efficiency cooling systems, zero-emission vehicles and other emerging clean technologies. They highlighted the US International Development Finance Corporation partnership with India's private sector to expand clean energy manufacturing and diversify supply chains. They also welcomed collaboration on a new National Centre for Hydrogen Safety in India and affirmed their intent to utilize the new Renewable Energy Technology Action Platform to enhance collaboration on clean energy manufacturing and global supply chains, including through public-private task forces on hydrogen and energy storage. A new memorandum of cooperation was announced between the US Agency for International Development and the International Solar Alliance, aimed at promoting more responsive and sustainable power systems that leverage diverse renewable energy sources. While in Delaware, Prime Minister Modi also witnessed the US side facilitating the return of nearly 300 antiquities that had been stolen or trafficked from India. In a symbolic handover, a select few pieces were showcased to Prime Minister Modi and President Biden on the sidelines of their bilateral meeting in Wilmington, Delaware. Prime Minister Modi thanked President Biden for his support in the return of these artifacts. He noted that these objects were not just part of India's historical material culture, but formed the inner core of its civilization and consciousness. The antiquities belong to a time period spanning almost 4,000 years, from 2000 BCE to 1900 CE, and have origins in different parts of India. Majority of the antiquities are terracotta artifacts from eastern India, while others are made in stone, metal, wood and ivory and belong to different parts of the country. Following the highly fruitful bilateral meeting with the US President, Prime Minister Modi participated in the 6th Quad Leaders Summit in Wilmington. Hosted by the US President, the summit was attended by the Prime Ministers of Australia, Japan and India. At the Quad Leaders Summit, Prime Minister Modi stated that at a time when the world is ridden with tensions and conflicts, the coming together of Quad partners with shared democratic ethos and values is important for humanity. He emphasized that the group stood for upholding the international order based on the rule of law, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, and with a commitment to pursue peaceful resolution of disputes. He further underlined that the Quad was here to stay, to assist, to partner, and to complement the efforts of Indo-Pacific countries.
Friends, हमारी बैठक ऐसे समय हो रही है जब विश्व तनावों और संघर्षों से घिरा हुआ है। ऐसे में साझा डेमोक्रेटिक वैल्यूज के आधार पर क्वाड का मिलकर साथ चलना पूरी मानवता के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। हम किसी के खिलाफ नहीं हैं। हम सभी एक रूल्स बेस्ड इंटरनेशनल ऑर्डर, संप्रभुता और क्षेत्रीय अखंडता के सम्मान और सभी मसलों के शांतिपूर्ण ढंग से हल निकालने का समर्थन करते हैं। फ्री, ओपन, इंक्लूसिव और प्रॉस्परस इंडो पैसिफिक हमारी साझा प्राथमिकता और साझा प्रतिबद्धता है। हमने मिलकर हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी, critical and emerging technologies, climate change, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग जैसे क्षेत्रों में कई सकारात्मक और समावेशी इनिशिएटिव लिए हैं। हमारा मैसेज साफ है, क्वाड इज हियर टू स्टे, टू असिस्ट, टू पार्टनर and to complement.
Reiterating that the Quad remains to be a force for global good, the leaders of Quad countries announced several initiatives to address the development priorities of the Indo-Pacific region and of the global community as a whole. Quad Cancer Moonshot, a groundbreaking partnership to save lives in the Indo-Pacific region by combating cervical cancer. Appreciating this thoughtful initiative of President Biden aimed at preventing, detecting and treating cervical cancer, Prime Minister Modi stated that the program would go a long way in providing affordable, accessible and quality healthcare to people in the Indo-Pacific countries.
कोविड पैंडेमिक के दौरान हमने इंडो पैसिफिक के लिए क्वाड वैक्सीन इनिशिएटिव लिया था और मुझे खुशी है कि क्वाड में हमने सर्वाइकल कैंसर जैसे चैलेंज का मिलकर सामना करने का निर्णय लिया है। इन कैंसर केयर कोलैबोरेशन इज एसेंशियल फॉर क्योर। कैंसर का बर्डन कम करने के लिए प्रिवेंशन, स्क्रीनिंग, डायग्नोसिस और ट्रीटमेंट की इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच जरूरी है।
Another initiative announced by the Quad leaders includes the Maritime Initiative for Training in the Indo-Pacific, METRI, to enable Indo-Pacific partners to maximize tools provided through the Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness, the IPMDA, and other Quad initiatives. The Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness was launched at the 2022 Quad Leaders Summit in Tokyo. The US Coast Guard, Japan Coast Guard, Australian Border Force and the Indian Coast Guard plan to launch a first-ever Quad at-Sea Ship Observer mission in 2025 in the Indo-Pacific to improve interoperability. Through this effort, members of the Japan Coast Guard, the Australian Border Force and the Indian Coast Guard will spend time on board a US Coast Guard vessel operating in the Indo-Pacific. The Quad intends to continue with further missions in the Indo-Pacific. The Quad Ports of the Future Partnership will harness the Quad's expertise to support sustainable and resilient port infrastructure development across the Indo-Pacific in collaboration with regional partners. Through this new partnership, Quad partners intend to coordinate, exchange information, share best practices with partners in the region, and leverage resources to mobilize government and private sector investments in quality port infrastructure across the Indo-Pacific. In 2025, Quad partners intend to hold the inaugural Regional Ports and Transportation Conference hosted by India in Mumbai. The Quad released joint principles for development and deployment of digital public infrastructure, underscoring the Quad's commitment to an inclusive, open, sustainable, fair, safe, reliable and secure digital future to advance shared prosperity and sustainable development. Quad leaders welcomed the finalization of a memorandum of cooperation for the semiconductor supply chains contingency network to facilitate collaboration in addressing semiconductor supply chain risks. The Quad welcomed India's establishment of a space-based web portal for Mauritius to support the concept of open science for space-based monitoring of extreme weather events and climate impact. India also announced a new initiative to award 50 Quad scholarships worth $500,000 to students from the Indo-Pacific to pursue a 4-year undergraduate engineering program at a Government of India-funded technical institution. To take the Quad agenda forward, the leaders adopted the Quad Wilmington Declaration, covering multiple aspects of partnership such as health, security, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, maritime security, quality infrastructure, critical and emerging technologies, climate and clean energy, cyber security, space, people-to-people initiatives, regional and global issues. On the sidelines of the Quad Summit, Prime Minister Modi also held bilateral talks with his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida and Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese. The leaders reviewed the various facets of our relationship and exchanged views to deepen the cooperation further. On the second leg of his visit, the Prime Minister arrived in New York, where he was welcomed by the Indian community with exceptional warmth and enthusiasm. Prime Minister Modi announced plans to open 2 new Indian consulates in the US, in Boston and in Los Angeles, and a Tiruvalluvar Chair of Tamil Studies in the University of Houston. He said these initiatives would further strengthen the living bridge between India and its diaspora in America. Addressing the Indian community in New York, Prime Minister Modi noted that the India-US relationship is profoundly enriched by the Indian-American community, which plays a pivotal role in fostering ties between the two great democracies.
दुनिया के लिए AI का मतलब है आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, लेकिन मैं मानता हूं कि AI का मतलब है अमेरिकन इंडियन अमेरिका इंडिया, ये स्पिरिट है और वही तो नई दुनिया का AI पावर है। यही AI स्पिरिट भारत अमेरिका रिश्तों को नई ऊंचाई दे रहा है।
He spoke about his vision for Viksit Bharat by 2047. He highlighted transformative changes in India in the last decade and underlined the government's commitment to pursuing reforms to meet the aspirations of people.
आपको एक शब्द याद रहेगा, पुष्प। हाँ, कमल मान लीजिए, मुझे इतराज नहीं है। पुष्प, और मैं पुष्प को डिफाइन करता हूं, P फॉर प्रोग्रेसिव भारत, U फॉर अनस्टॉपेबल भारत, S फॉर स्पिरिचुअल भारत, H फॉर ह्यूमैनिटी फर्स्ट को समर्पित भारत, P फॉर प्रोस्परस भारत, यानी पुष्प। पुष्प की 5 पंखुड़ियों को मिलाकर ही विकसित भारत बनाएंगे।
Reasserting that India was a major contributor to global growth, prosperity, peace and security, climate change action, innovation, supply and value chains, and in filling global skill gaps, Prime Minister Modi said India's voice today resonated deeper and louder in the global arena. The Prime Minister also used the opportunity to interact with technology industry leaders, including Google CEO Sundar Pichai. The Prime Minister encouraged them to capitalize on India's growth story for collaboration and innovation, discussing cutting-edge fields like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, IT and semiconductor technologies. The CEOs participated in a deep dive with Prime Minister Modi on the evolving technology landscape at a global level and how these cutting-edge technologies are contributing to the well-being of people around the world, including in India.
हमारा लक्ष्य है कि हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी और ग्लोबल चैलेंज के सॉल्यूशन देने में भारत लीडरशिप के रोल में हो और जिसमें आप सबका सहयोग बहुत बड़ी हमें ताकत दे सकता है। भारत प्रो प्लैनेट पीपल के अप्रोच को लेकर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना रहा है, इनोवेट कर रहा है। 2030 तक 500 गीगावाट रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के टारगेट को अचीव करने के लिए हम एक साथ कई स्तर पर काम कर रहे हैं और इसलिए आपके लिए मैन्युफैक्चर में भी अद्भुत संभावना है। फ्रेंड्स, आत्मनिर्भर और सशक्त भारत की विकास यात्रा में आप सभी को मैं एक सहयात्री के रूप में, एक सहभागीदारी के रूप में हमेशा मानता हूं, देखता हूं और उस प्रकार से हमारी यात्रा भी रही है, आप सबका अनुभव भी है। और मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत और अमेरिका की टेक कंपनीज मिलकर ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस के समाधान से में अहम रोल निभाएगी।
India's growing prominence as a global technology hub, driven by its innovation-friendly policies and flourishing market opportunities, got much appreciation from the tech leaders.
Prime Minister wants to make sure ultimately AI is there to benefit the people of India.
This is India's moment. You have to seize the opportunity.
We are expanding our manufacturing capabilities in India.
We have already a large research-based center in India. We plan to grow that.
It's an exciting time.
He clearly wants to have India front and center in progress of technology.
On the sidelines of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly, Prime Minister Modi met the Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Oli. The two leaders reviewed the unique and close bilateral relationship between India and Nepal and expressed satisfaction at the progress made in diverse sectors, including development partnership, hydropower cooperation, people-to-people ties, and enhancing connectivity, physical, digital, and also in the domain of energy. The Prime Minister also met the Crown Prince of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Khalid Al Hamad Al Mubarak Al Sabah. This was the first meeting between the Prime Minister and the Crown Prince of Kuwait. The Prime Minister conveyed that India attaches utmost importance to its bilateral relations with Kuwait. They expressed their firm commitment to deepen and diversify bilateral ties for the mutual benefit of both countries. The Prime Minister also thanked the Crown Prince for ensuring the well-being of the Indian community in Kuwait, which is the largest diaspora group in the country. On the sidelines of the Summit of the Future in New York, the Prime Minister also met the President of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas. Expressing concern at the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza and the worsening security situation in the region, the Prime Minister reaffirmed India's unwavering support to the people of Palestine, including continued humanitarian assistance. He reiterated India's time-tested principled position on the Israel-Palestine issue and called for ceasefire, release of hostages, and return to the path of dialogue and diplomacy. The Prime Minister also held a bilateral meeting with the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, on the sidelines of the Summit of the Future in New York. The two leaders recalled Prime Minister's recent visit to Ukraine and expressed satisfaction at the continued consolidation of bilateral ties. The situation in Ukraine, as well as the way forward on pursuing a path to peace, also figured prominently in their discussions. Additionally, the Prime Minister held discussions with Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and met Vietnamese President To Lam to enhance ties between India and Vietnam in areas like connectivity, trade, and culture. The Prime Minister reiterated his sympathies and solidarity with Vietnam in the face of loss and damage caused by Typhoon Yagi earlier this month. President and General Secretary To Lam thanked Prime Minister for the timely supply of emergency humanitarian assistance and disaster relief by India under Operation Sadbhav. At the United Nations Summit of the Future, Prime Minister Modi highlighted India's vision for shaping a sustainable world for future generations. Noting that he was speaking at the summit on behalf of 1/6 of humanity, which seeks global peace, development and prosperity, the Prime Minister called for the primacy of a human-centric approach in our collective quest for a bright global future. Speaking about India's success at scaling sustainable development initiatives, Prime Minister Modi noted that the country had lifted 250 million people out of poverty in the last decade. He emphasized that India was privileged to share its development experience with countries in the global south. He called for balanced regulations to promote safe and responsible use of technology, noting that India is open to sharing its digital public infrastructure for greater public good. He also underlined India's commitment to One Earth, One Family, One Future as a guiding principle. Reiterating that reform is the key to relevance, the Prime Minister once again called for urgent reform of the institutions of global governance, including the UN Security Council.
जब हम ग्लोबल फ्यूचर की बात कर रहे हैं तो ह्यूमन सेंट्रिक अप्रोच सर्वप्रथम होनी चाहिए। सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट को प्राथमिकता देते हुए हमें मानव कल्याण, फूड, हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी यह भी सुनिश्चित करनी होगी। सक्सेस ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटी lies in our collective strength, not in the battlefield. और वैश्विक शांति एवं विकास के लिए ग्लोबल संस्थाओं में रिफॉर्म्स आवश्यक है। रिफॉर्म इज द की टू रिलेवेंस। मैं जोर देकर कहूंगा कि ग्लोबल एक्शन मस्ट मैच ग्लोबल एम्बिशन। फ्रेंड्स, भारत के लिए वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर एक कमिटमेंट है। यही कमिटमेंट हमारे वन अर्थ, वन हेल्थ और वन सन, वन वर्ल्ड, वन ग्रिड जैसे इनिशिएटिव्स में भी दिखाई देता है।
The theme of the summit was multilateral solutions for a better tomorrow. A large number of world leaders participated in the summit, which concluded with the adoption of an outcome document, a pact for the future, along with 2 annexes, Global Digital Compact and a declaration on future generations. Prime Minister Modi's visit to the US turned out to be quite substantive, marked by meaningful discussions with key leaders that focused on strengthening bilateral ties, enhancing trade partnerships, and collaborating on global security issues. Notable outcomes include agreements in technology, defense, and climate action, ultimately aiming to deepen the strategic partnership between the two countries. The visit also showcased cultural exchanges that celebrated shared values and fostered people-to-people connections. Prime Minister Modi himself described it as a highly fruitful visit. He shared highlights of his engagements in Delaware and New York, covering diverse programs and focusing on a series of subjects aimed at making India and the planet better. So that brings us to an end of this broadcast. I'll see you again next time. Take good care of yourselves. Thank you very much for your time.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.